Hi, my name is Shabana
आज हम
Azmi.
जमाइमा खान
I'm
की
an
न्यू
actress
फिल्म की
from
मतलब कुछ
India, and
इंटरेस्टिंग
I'm
बातें जानेंगे।
delighted to be playing Aisha, the matriarch of the Asian family, in Jamaima Khan and Shekhar Kapoor's What's Love Got to Do with It Anyway?
Thank you, Shabana. And I am Jemima Khan. I wrote the film and I produced it along with a lot of other producers.
Hi, my name is Sajal Ali, and first of all, I'm very nervous because I'm sharing the sofa with the legend Shabana Azmi. She's my favorite, and I don't know what to say, but okay, I'll tell you a little bit of my character. I'm somebody, my character name is Memuna, and I think that she is representing a lot of thousands of Pakistani girls, South Asian girls, and I think definitely she will give strength to all of them.
Well, I lived in Pakistan for 10 years, from the age of 20 to 30. So I sort of feel like I grew up there. And even though, films are obviously a collaboration of visions. So by the end, and what you see on screen is obviously has gone through a process, and there's lots of different people who've interpreted it and put their own kind of vision on it, from the actors to the editor to obviously the director, etc. But the very, very start, I had wanted to, first of all, make a film that was that showed Pakistan in a more colorful and hospitable and positive light than perhaps we usually see on our screens in the West. It was very much a kind of lament of friends of mine in Lahore when I lived there, that the only films that win awards in the West are the ones that denigrate their country, and why can't there be films that celebrate Pakistan? So I have enormous affection for a country that I essentially grew up in, and I wanted to celebrate Pakistanis and Pakistan. And so that was a starting point. And then the other, then the actual kind of genesis was that I when I was in Pakistan, I guess I went there with the sort of preconceptions that a lot of people in the West have about arranged marriages, and I was the only love marriage, they call it they call it in Pakistan, in my ex-husband's entire family, and we were the only divorce. And I saw a lot of very, very successful arranged marriages, and they'd evolved into this thing called, I always heard called assisted marriage, where the parents would introduce you to someone suitable and the children would get to know them, and then they would decide whether to move forward or not. And I even got involved in arranging a couple of marriages, and I watched my ex-husband's niece, whose house we all lived together in one big extended family household, and I watched her go from a teenager to having an arranged marriage, and very successfully and happily. And that's not to say that there isn't a big difference with a forced marriage and the unhappy examples, but I'm talking about the majority which are done consensually and are therefore happy, or often happy. And when I came back to England, I was in my 30s, and it kind of started as a joke with my girlfriends who were sort of thinking about having children and struggling to find, available, appropriate, non-commitment phobic men to settle with, and was struggling a bit. And so I'd sort of blithely say, oh, I'll arrange it. Or we'd have a conversation about, if your parents were sane enough and could agree, which mine definitely weren't, who would they have picked for you, and would it have worked? Or have we just been destroyed by rom-coms? And that was kind of the point at which I went, actually, maybe I could write a film about that. And that was about 3,000 years ago in the Jurassic era, and it's finally on screen.
But on the aside, were you successful in your attempts at matchmaking?
Yes, thank you very much. Very.
But you're very lucky, because this is my passion, okay? And when I the thing is that I come from a very progressive family, and there was no question of ever having anybody having an arranged marriage in the family. But I am not dismissive of it at all, because I've seen it working. And of course, it did surprise me a lot. But I do think that there is some virtue in parents understanding that having similar backgrounds, particularly similar cultural backgrounds, is a very strong base to put something together. And like in our film, we say that we walk into marriage and then fall into love. You see, that's the better way, instead of saying that, oh, you first fall in love and then you say, oh God, now how does one settle down with marriage? So although I do think that it is a definite big cultural difference between the West and the East, um, I don't think you can dismiss either of them. But if you can create the space for the West to understand that it's not all medieval to have assisted marriages, and that's, I think, what you get from the film, which is its strength and its warmth.
Well, I think it's for me, it's too early to say anything about arrange or love. But I just feel like I just believe in love. I just feel, and anyway, wedding, shadi is just a risk. Be it arrange or love. That's all I can say.
Firstly, to have the Emma Thompson on the set and being my best friend in the film was just so overwhelming for me. And she's so lovely. I mean, apart from being such a wonderful actor, she is a very warm, very giving, and a lot of fun on the set. Wouldn't you agree, Sajal? She was absolutely just wonderful. And also for me, Shekhar and I worked together 40 years ago. We did film as co-actors, and then he directed me in his first film. I've known him for many years, and so it was very rewarding for me to see that we were coming back after so long, and it didn't seem like there had been a gap at all. But I must say that the reason I jumped at the film is because Shekhar rang me up and said, listen, this is a very good script, and that I must give to Jamaima, that the base of it is a very good script. And I think to have somebody like Shekhar is really coup d'etat, because he understands both cultures and he's not judgmental. And I think that's the strength of the film, that it's not judgmental.
I learnt so much it'd be hard to even put into a soundbite because it was from 0 to 100. But I felt really grateful to be allowed to be part of the whole process from start to finish and to work with these incredible talents. So I mean, yeah, it was a real privilege for me.
In the Indian film industry, yes, there's been a huge change. There are strong roles coming for women. In the 60s, we had a film, I Will Remain Silent, being considered a virtue for a film. Today, it's unimaginable that any girl would agree to do something like that. But I also think that the most important thing that is happening in the world today is Asian actors have been talking about colorblind casting forever. And that is finally coming to be. So, that for me is very rewarding, that there are roles for older uh, people, roles for women, and then finally colorblind casting, which is our due, I think, is finally being accepted. So, I do think that the world in cinema is changing.
Yeah, I think I agree with Shabana and with you that it is, the dial is definitely shifting.
I mean, we're still working really hard with the films, but yes, in the drama side, I think we as like girls and females, we're leading the drama side in Pakistan.
I believe that art, but particularly cinema, has the ability to create a climate of sensitivity in which it is possible for change to occur. And I think it's fabulous that the Saudi Arabia is opening up like that and putting their everything behind a film festival. And they're doing it with a view that really we need inclusivity. Because if cinema doesn't promote inclusivity, then what does it do? And I think this attempt is very laudable. And when I was invited here, I just jumped at the chance because I was so fascinated and I wanted to see for myself what it is. They're all working very hard. I'm very grateful for being here. And I really, really wish them all the best, because I mean, I'm not being patronizing about it, but it's only their second festival. And I think there's there's lots of good that will come out of it, because I don't think it will vest only with the festival, but also open up the doors to create a film industry here. I think it's a peg to create a film industry, and that's fab.
I think it's really important to bring art and culture to a country where, as you mentioned, 5 years ago, cinema going was actually illegal, women couldn't drive, and now there's a flourishing cinema going population, and hopefully the love of film will only increase here. And I, like Shabana, believe that art and culture brings people together and is very, very important. There is obviously a debate to be had about the other more problematic issues, but I don't think that that concerns art and culture. And I mean, it would be disingenuous of me not to add that I have been critical of the Saudi regime in the past and about their human rights abuses. But I really believe there have been huge changes in the last 5 years, and I really hope that that continues.
Yeah, I just feel really, really grateful to be here. For me, it's everything is just new. I never thought that I'll ever be, sharing the screen with the legends and such amazing people, and will be being directed by Shekhar Kapoor is just like, for me, it's just like a miracle. So just being here and representing Pakistan through being part of this film is just
सब
amazing.
बताइएगा आपको ये इंटरव्यू कैसा लगा सजल अली का, जमाइमा जी का, शबाना जी का, अबाउट द न्यू फिल्म जो कि जमाइमा जी प्रोड्यूस करवा रही हैं। मिलती है नेक्स्ट वीडियो में। अल्लाह हाफिज़।